Everyone. Today we're going to talk about how powerful it is to never overthink. Let's take computers, for example, or any machine, the way they work, the way they operate. And since they're machines, they a measurement of how well they can perform the work is called efficiency. It's the amount that it takes, it's the amount of energy that goes in compared with the energy that goes out. Efficiency could also relate to how well the work is being performed, meaning how much power, right? How much energy per time. Now, the problem with computers and machines in general is that as they're doing work, which is nothing but a transfer of energy, even the information inside computers are stored is a they are a form of energy that is stored. Because when you hit a button on your keyboard, you send an electrical pulse that goes into the hardware of the computer. The pulse is processed through computer language, through chips, and the processing, which generates an output in the screen or in the speakers. All of these are transfer of information, transfer of energy. Because nothing in the universe exists alone. There's always a transfer of information. As I'm right here in this room speaking, I'm transferring energy to the computer through to the camera in the form of sound and light. This information, these bits of information are being stored in this video. And whoever opens the video generates, allows for the software or for the data stored to be released as an output in the screen or in the speakers. So there's a transfer of energy. In the same way, energy can be stored, energy can be transferred. Now, with computers, since there's energy flowing, there are electrons flowing, there is information, light and sound. Machines that operate, machines that move, they generate friction, which heats them up. So overheating could be a problem because the parts of a computer, the parts of a machine could wear out with overheating. And this overheating could damage the device and the machine. Or because it's overheated, the rate of doing work will be lower, slower. So that means that it's not going to be as efficient. So it's clear to say that if computers overheat, they could slow down, meaning there's going to be less efficiency. The process that goes in the device, in the chips, will go slower as well. And this would make it difficult to operate more complex software, which requires more of the hardware to operate at the same time. Now, what does all that has to do with overthinking? Is that we can only solve complicated problems if we have a fresh attitude towards it. Because if you have a problem, if you have a situation that you need to figure a solution for, or you need to do something in that situation, whether you're playing soccer or whether you're making a work of art or playing music. Now, if you overthink, even if you find a solution for what should be done, it's probably not going to be as good as if you didn't overthought in the first place. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to go deep into rationale to to make new discoveries and explore more of the content. What I'm trying to say is that if you have a really, really complicated problem, like something going on your computer or something you need to figure it out, there's a machine broken in your house, you need to fix it. The way we do it is, since if the problem is complicated, we break it into parts. We create a map with elements. We label the parts. We label the elements. We define each element. We define each function of the of each of the parts through mapping, creating charts, making predictions. And these are how manuals are written. This is how textbooks are written. This is how teachers explain to students about certain topics in science or any other subject. It's by breaking it up into parts and defining the elements a way to understand the system so you can have productivity from what you're exploring or from what you're doing. Now, if you overthink, you will tend to see things in such a difficult way that it's going to be extremely difficult for you to come across any meaning to what's going on. That's called overthinking. Or you may do a tremendous amount of work for nothing. And how many times there was an issue with computers and two adults couldn't figure it out for 2 hours. And then a kid comes in, a child who is still in elementary school, and says, "Oh, all you got to do is this, this, and that." And then you go, "Wow, we're adults and we couldn't figure it out, but this child was able to figure it out. How come?" Well, clear. Children don't overthink. They have a fresh mind. They see things, they catch it immediately. Our brain needs rest. Our brain needs to have a fresh uh, nature in order to be able to see things more clearly, in order to process the data that is coming in more clearly, in order to generate our reaction to certain events that is more wise, that is more ideal for multiple situations. Plus, when you overthink, you dive into the situation and you don't have an overview, a general view of what's going on. You may focus on just one thing and you get confused. Now, if you don't overthink, you're not overheating your brain. You're not filling your mind with thoughts that could be damaging to any success in performing a task. And in the same way, the computers require a fan to cool down, or some devices use heat sink to transfer the heat and lower the temperature so they can work more properly without damaging its parts. We humans and all animals in nature, we go to sleep. We shut down so we can, uh, so we when we wake up in the morning, we can be more refreshed, so we can perform the activities more effectively. Now, if you have a textbook where you have lots of graphs and definitions, and then you say, see, overthinking is actually good. This author was able to put all of these things together. In fact, no, that's not overthinking. That's actually trying to see things, try to understand complex things with simplicity. So instead of talking about the whole thing all at once, we break it into parts, we make graphs, we create maps, and we define each of the parts, and at the end we draw a conclusion by putting all the elements together and describing the entire organism. So the key for understanding anything in science and philosophy is to never overthink, to always find a way to intellectually, an intellectual way of defining the parts and sort of like translating. You get something complicated, you translate that information in order that it is more simple to understand. Overthinkers, they get something difficult and they make it even worse. So the productivity from that is not very good. Now, if you see something difficult and you make it more simple, and sometimes in order to make things more simple, you you write many pages and you include many figures and you include many explanations. That's the process of making something simple. This is not overthinking. This is just exploring. This is just detailing to make it simple. So the key for wisdom, the key for science and philosophy is never overthinking. And all of the progress we made in science and philosophy throughout the ages in human history were from people that were trying to describe things in the natural world or technology by simplifying rather than complicated, rather than complicating what we see and what we define as reality. Thanks for watching.